What is up, guys? You're listening to the MFCEO Project. I'm Andy. I'm your host, and I am the motherfucking CEO. Guys, real quick before we get started, I want to remind you guys that we are doing a review contest. We're going to extend that contest for a couple more weeks. The contest is we're going to pick 5 people who go on iTunes, leave a review, to do a live Skype with me for 20, 30 minutes where I can answer all your questions, get in, help you with anything you need help with. So, guys, if you find value in the podcast, if you want to do a live Skype, please go on, leave a review on iTunes. Let us know what you think, and we'll pick 5 people who have left a review about the show. Now, I said we're going to extend the contest. Originally, we were going to call the contest today. It's been going very well. I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead and end the contest on August 8th. So we're going to do it 2 more weeks. So, guys, if you haven't left a review, please go leave a review and subscribe to the podcast, because that's how we get our podcast ranked. A lot of these guys go out and they interview all these other people, and they leverage other people's followings to get the podcast following built and ranked and all that. Guys, we just do what we know how to do. We share the information we know how to share. Occasionally we'll bring a guest on, but we're not constantly trying to throw these worthless guests that don't know shit and have, X amount of followers on social but haven't really done anything your way, okay? When we have people on the show, they're people who have done things in real life, who have made real businesses, who have sold real fucking products and made real fucking money. And guys, that's what the show's about, okay? It's not about just being an entrepreneur, all right? Yes, it's an entrepreneurial podcast, but the entrepreneurial mindset is what is important to take away, because the entrepreneurial mindset is what is going to get you from where you are to where you want to be, no matter if you're the guy at the lowest level inside of a company or if you're the CEO. Not everybody's cut out to own their own business. It's a statistical fact that 7 to 8% of people in the general population are entrepreneurs. That means most of you aren't. But having the entrepreneurial mindset, okay, living every day like an entrepreneur and treating yourself and becoming the CEO of yourself is what is going to get you to become successful. It's what's going to create value in yourself within an organization. Now, Vaughn, where can these people go to subscribe and also leave a review?
Well, for clear instructions, they can go to the mfceo.com/review or the mfceo.com/subscribe. But as far as, screenshotting their reviews and emailing it, I assume we just send them to what? Vaughn at the mfceo.com or something like that. Yeah, send them to me, guys. Vaughn at the mfceo.com, VAUGHN. I think that's where most of them have been coming anyway. So, but yeah, if you need instructions, we give pretty clear instructions. So I think you can figure it out. Yeah.
So, guys, if you're new to the show, that's the co-host, Vaughn the Impaler, the pastor of disaster. And then we've got the producer, Tyler, MC Salmon, but today he's wearing white, so we'll call him MC White, I guess. I don't know. I'm such a racist.
That's racist.
MC Cod?
Yeah. MC Powder Puff. That's more appropriate. All right, guys. So, Vaughn, let's talk about what we're going to talk about today. What are we going to talk about today?
Well, first, can I say I'm grateful that we're actually recording. It's been too long.
It has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
well, we get busy in the summer, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Right now is the time of year where we're trying to plan for next year in our company. We're getting everything done, so the schedule gets kind of screwed up.
Right.
So,
and we've got other projects going on.
Yeah, a lot of other projects.
Yeah. So, man, we're talking about, obviously, most of the people that listen here on this podcast are either already engaged in somewhat of a wealthy lifestyle, or it's a lifestyle that they're wanting to pursue. They want money, right? Exactly. They want lots of it. Right. So I thought, we were talking earlier.
Which, by the way, is a great thing.
Yeah.
And anybody who tells you differently doesn't have any, or hasn't ever been around any, or has no fucking clue. Anybody who tells you, oh, money is such a bad thing and it ruins people and this and that. No, it doesn't. Money, I made a post yesterday on Instagram with Matthew McConaughey's video. Did you see that?
It was awesome.
Yeah, dude, it was awesome. And what frustrates me so much is you have these 2 groups of people, right? You have, and we're getting off track, but that's okay. You have this group of people who aspire to have money. And they think like, you know, having a fucking Lambo and a Rolls and a big house and a plane and all this shit is what life's about. All right. And then you have the people who say, you don't fucking need money to be happy. You don't need money, blah, blah, blah. Money's evil and bad, blah, blah, blah. And you know what? Both groups are fucking wrong. Like, both groups are wrong. Like, money's a great thing because it allows you to add to the experiences of life. It's not about owning a car, okay? And people are like, but Andy, you own fucking 16 cars. You know what? Yeah, and every single one of those cars, it's not about owning the car. It's that it adds to my life experience. And that's what people don't understand about money. It can accelerate and create awesome things that you wouldn't otherwise be able to do that add to your life experience. It's not about the house. It's not about the car. It's about the experience. And if you can use money to create a better experience and make a better impact on the people around you, how can you say that's a bad thing? And it's just so ignorant that people fucking either A, only want the fucking shiny object, or B, think it's the worst thing in the world. And the funny thing is all the people with the money, the real money, they don't think either of those things. They're thinking the way I'm telling you, you know, that we think. It's not about the money per se. It's about adding to the life experience. And you guys have to understand that. If you just chase the next shiny object and the next car and the next house and the next plane, you know what? You might make some money. You might be able to do that. But dude, you'll always feel fucking empty inside. You'll always feel like there's something missing. You're always going to feel like you did something wrong. You're always going to regret, you know, the way you're living your life because, dude, there's never going to be enough. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's never going to be enough. And I think it's important to recognize that, especially with young people, because I know when I was young, and don't get me wrong, dude, chasing the shiny object is really good motivation because when I was young, that was a big, huge motivation for me. But I'm just saying, you know, recognize that owning that thing is still just an experience. It's not actual ownership. Does it make sense?
Right. I think if you replace the word money with the word resource and you said to somebody, well, if you could have a bunch of resources to impact the world, would you want it? They say, yeah.
Exactly.
But then you say, well, that's what money is. Money is a resource to impact the world. You can impact it positively or you can impact it negatively, but it's a morally neutral thing that you either use for good or evil.
I agree 100%.
So we were talking, you know, earlier about obviously people wanting money, and you have a good amount of money, probably not as much as you will eventually, but I thought it would be really helpful to talk to people just about, I mean, practical nuts and bolts on how to think about your money, how to think about it, and how to manage it in a way that you can get wealthy and stay wealthy. And Andy, I think the first thing, this is like common sense to anybody, so it's not going to surprise anybody, but everybody says, you know, the gurus say, you got to stay on a budget. Is that true when you make $40,000? Is it as true when you make $400,000?
I think that, you know, most people don't even understand what the fuck that means. I think most people have a spending problem and they also have an earning problem. They don't earn enough and they spend too much. And I think that people, whenever they look at their spending habits, if you're one of these people who spends too much and doesn't earn enough, when you're earning 40 grand and you're doing that, it's going to be the same when you're earning 400 grand or when you're earning 4 million. You're going to spend way more than you have and you're not going to fucking be earning enough. And that is a problem. You know, it's a problem no matter how much you earn. If you're spending more than you earn, and it sounds like common sense, but I guarantee you most of you are shaking your head. Yeah, that's me. If not on the outside, especially on the inside. You can't live beyond your means. You've got to live below your means, you know, and people they'll look at me and they'll say, oh, well, you look like you're living beyond. How the fuck do you know that? I spend less than 10% of the money I make. 10%. That means I'm saving 90 fucking percent of the money I make.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So your thought is if you overspend when you're poor, you're going to overspend when you're rich.
Always.
Yeah.
And it has to do with, you know, your habits. So this is a habit that you could correct now. You could correct now by, you know, laying it out on a spreadsheet. It's as simple as laying it out on an Excel spreadsheet. I earn this much. I spend this much. Okay. If I'm earning $5,000 a month and I'm spending $6,000, how can I cut it out to where I'm spending $3,000? You know what I mean? And you've got to make those cuts. That's the biggest reason most people get trapped in a regular job, because they can't cut back their lifestyle because of, you know, ego or pride or whatever it is to actually become cash flow positive in their life so that they can actually go out and take that money and spend it on starting some sort of business or whatever it is they truly want to do. You know what I mean? They get caught up into keeping up with the Joneses, and that's something that sticks with you. It doesn't matter how much money you make.
Well, it reminds me of that podcast, where you talk about, are your goals really your goals?
Right. Exactly. You know? Right. It's easy to say, oh, my goals are to become financially independent and save all this money and do all this. But dude, if you're not willing to make the cuts and live below your means, then that's not really what the fuck you want.
Your weekends are telling you different.
Exactly.
The fucking car you're
dude,
driving
look,
is.
man, when your actions are saying different than what your mouth says is inaccurate.
Right. And the biggest proof, I think, of what you're saying is everybody knows it's become cliche of the guy who came from a low income background. He goes and signs, millions of dollars to become a professional athlete, and 10 years later, he's broke.
Well, right. But
right.
But the reason that is because no one's ever sat him down and talked to him to a point where I could go on about that for hours.
Right.
Because the major league sports organizations do not do a good enough job to help these people understand personal finance. The reason those guys get paid the amount of money they get paid is they're getting paid a lifetime of salary within like 6-7 years, right? That money's supposed to last for a lifetime. But they go out and they do exactly what I'm saying now. They not only do they spend their $3-4 million a year, they leverage it on credit and try to live like they're making $10 million a year. And then they do that until all their money's gone, and then they're fucking $15 million in debt or $20 or $50 million in debt like Floyd Mayweather is.
Right.
And they never learn to say no to their family either.
Exactly.
Right.
I mean, or to anybody.
Yeah.
And the thing is like, dude, I just got a call from a good friend who just recently started making really good money about 2 weeks ago. And she was asking me about, her friend who was asking her to borrow $5,000. And what should I do? I said, don't fucking give it to her. And she's like, well, she's going to be mad at me. I'm like, she'll be mad at you either way, because you're either going to give it to her now and she's going to be happy, and then when you want it back, she'll be mad at you. And she's going to say, oh, you don't need it back. Why are you trying to hassle me back? Or she'll be mad at you now. And I would just make it a policy now. You don't do that. I just don't do it. And I don't fucking do it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But the point is that, you have to understand that the only way you're ever going to be financially independent for your life is to spend far less than what the fuck you make. And most people just aren't willing to do that. They see their neighbor pull up in their driveway with their new fucking $75,000 Escalade or GMC fucking Denali, and they think they're a baller. So they go out and leverage all their money on that. And for what? What for? You know what I mean? You go out and spend 20 grand on a fucking 1971 K fucking 20 Blazer, which looks 10 times cooler and gets 10 times as much attention and be fucking way better off financially. But they want to keep up with the fucking... I mean, dude, come on. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I know totally what you're saying. When my wife was in residency, she had seminars that actually told them most doctors live paycheck to paycheck.
And they do.
And it's crazy because they make good money, but they feel like they need to keep up with other people.
I've said it, I don't know how many times on this podcast. Doctors are the worst fucking business people. The worst.
They are.
They are the worst. And they act like they're the biggest fucking ballers too. You know, oh, I went to school for 12 years, so I know everything. They're so fucking arrogant. They don't know anything outside of their bubble, but they think they know everything. And they fucking all of them are basically broke.
Right.
That's why they work till they're 70 fucking years old.
Right.
Because they have to.
And it's insane because there are people in Kasha's class that I'm sure are like, well, why do Vaughn and Kasha live in a middle income house and drive used cars? Why? Because we're paying off all that debt and using our money wisely so that in the long term, we're going to have a lot more money than anybody else. But meanwhile, they haven't dented their debt that has a huge interest level.
They're too fucking busy drinking their fucking Sonoma fucking Valley Chardonnay or whatever the fuck people drink.
Right.
With their fucking pinkies up, acting like they're better than everybody.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
Dude, if you're a doctor and you're listening and this is you're a fucking idiot. So
live within your means, obviously.
Yeah.
Budget. Regardless of what your income is.
Right.
Yeah. So speaking of budgets, I was researching this a little bit, and it seems like a lot of these different entrepreneurial sites, they have things like, what are the 10 greatest habits of wealthy people? And one of them is, one of them that I thought just really did not sound accurate is wealthy people don't make impulsive purchases.
Come on. Everybody makes impulsive purchases. I mean, let's be real, dude. Like there's shit I mean, have you ever gotten on fucking Amazon and all this? I mean, dude, everybody does it. Like they go into fucking Target. Everybody's done this. You go into Target, you're like, oh, I need this one thing.
Right.
You walk out with $300, $400 worth of shit.
Right.
Everybody does that. Dude,
Right.
impulsive purchases are the fucking killer.
Right.
It's just when you make a lot of money, they're a lot more expensive.
Right.
Like, dude, I've bought fucking cars on eBay impulsively. Like, hey, like when I've been drinking, I've been laying on the fucking couch and I'm like, hey, this truck looks awesome. Dude.
You know what I did Saturday?
And the motherfucker shows up like 3 days later, you know? Yeah. What?
Well, we were at Billy Cheese, and Andy and I were drinking a little bit. Got back home, and bought some new Yeezys that night.
Yeah, they were probably what, $800?
I didn't even remember till the next day.
How much were they?
No, they were $300.
See, I'm waiting for the what do they call those? I'm waiting for those drones, the Amazon to use the drones,
dude.
so that the drones are just like constantly converging on your house.
Everybody does the impulsive purchases.
So then, what's the answer?
The answer is to fucking plan for the impulsive purchases.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Take a part of your budget and say, hey, I got, $500 this month, or maybe you don't have $500, maybe it's $200, or maybe it's fucking $5,000, depending on how much you make. But say, hey, I'm budgeting X amount of dollars for my impulsive purchase, and know that number in your head and like track it. You know what I'm saying? Like if it's $500 and you spend $170 on a pair of Oakleys on Amazon, know that you've only got like $300 left.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And for the rest of the month. You just got to plan it out and work it into your budget. And that's where people don't. People never plan for those impulsive purchases, which the impulsive purchases are what bury people whenever it comes to financial, independence.
It's kind of paradoxical because it's like planning spontaneity, but it makes total sense. And if you do that, then you don't have to feel guilty about it.
Right.
Dude,
I think that's one of the most important things that people can do is just plan for the impulsiveness. Plan you're going to spend a night out with your fellas drinking and it's going to cost you $150 or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like those things and stick to it. You know what I mean? If you're at your $500 limit for the month and you're at it's the 19th, go on a fucking diet and say, hey, I'm not leaving the house for fucking the rest of the month.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, dude, figure it out. But that's how you do it, man. I mean, it's just, you've got to plan for those things.
So across the board, the chronic problem that I think most people have when they start acquiring wealth is that they basically say, okay, the rules are one way for me when I'm poor or middle income, but then the rules change when I'm really wealthy.
Dude.
What would be an example of something because I know that I can think of a lot of them, but
no, it's like, people fucking, especially when you start making money, people think that you change your standards, right? Like if I go out right now and like, dude, this just fucking pisses me off too every time. But like when I take people to dinner, all right, like I've got to take a lot of people to dinner a lot of times, and that's fine. It comes with the territory. I had to spend $6,000 on a fucking dinner 2 weeks ago. Okay. First of all, what you'll find is that people don't thank you, because they expect you to pay, which is really fucking irritating.
Yeah.
Okay? Because like $6,000 for fucking dinner is ridiculous. So at least say fucking thank you. Second of all, $6,000 is still fucking $6,000.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like people look at you and they say, oh, well, that ain't nothing to you.
It's not much of a sacrifice.
Fuck, dude.
Yeah.
I don't like spending that money. That's not fun for me. Do I mind if people are appreciative? No, I don't. But the point is that I still think of that much money as what I thought of it whenever I was, not making any money. And like, dude, it's just like, when people get pulled over for a fucking speeding ticket when they're making fucking $20,000 a year and it's $300, they freak the fuck out, right? Well, dude, I still freak the fuck out over that $300. I'm not like, oh, fuck that, I don't care. I'm like, dude, that sucks. It pisses me off. And I think that's reflective of people's mentality, right? Like, people start making some money and they're like, oh, I don't fucking care. I don't care about that $6,000 because, I got fucking X amount in my bank account. It doesn't fucking matter. Or I don't care about that $300 because I'm making $4 million this year. Like, they don't fucking get like that. You can't think like that. It should, your habits and your standards that you have should stick with you with the amount of money that you make. But people don't do that. Like they adjust their perception of what's expensive and what's not, and that ends up hurting them real bad. Because like, dude, when money's coming in, most people assume that it's always going to be coming in like that, and it's not the case. You know, there's been times in business where we haven't made anything. There's been times in business where I've made obscene amounts of money, and then I've gone back to not making anything. Fucking 2 years ago, I went 2 years without getting a paycheck. You know what I mean? But the 3 years before that, I was making an obscene amount of money. But I had to take the money that I was making and put it in the business for it to grow. I had to hire a bunch of new people. I had to pay for a bunch of new marketing. I had to build a new building. I had to do all kinds of shit, and it took basically 2 years of my fucking paycheck away. So, like, dude, had I had those bad habits, you know, of spending all my money, I would have been in real deep shit because A, I wouldn't have been able to live the lifestyle I was living, and B, I wouldn't have been able to grow the company. So you have to think ahead of time, you know, which is another point we'll get to in a minute.
That makes total sense, and I think it is funny. I mean, people just think that if they have the money, then they can waste it. And I think I've said this before, even on the podcast, but I'm always really, really impressed that, you know, here you got your wife. She's doing all these entrepreneurial things. She's got Fit Home and Health. She's got the cookbook. She's killing it, right? She still goes to Aldi. And she goes to Aldi.
She fucking clips coupons, dude.
And she goes to Aldi to get fruit that you could get. I'm not going to say it, but there's another local store in town. It's a local family store. It is so freaking overpriced. Emily could pay it.
Yeah.
She could pay it.
Right.
But she doesn't.
But, dude, if you go in there, every motherfucker in there is earning 30 to 50 grand a year, and they're fucking buying it.
Right.
Because it's convenient.
Right, because it's convenient.
Right.
But it is crazy. But it is a huge
But, dude,
principle.
that's the perception of people who are earning an average income of people who are earning a high income. They think that the people who earn a high income don't care about that shit.
Right.
Because they don't care about it now, so why would they care about it then? But the reason they're not earning a high income or have a bunch of money in the bank is because they don't care about it now.
Right.
That's the fucking paradox.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they think, oh, dude, you spent, you know, like, dude, we had a couple parties. Like we had a first form party and we probably spent fucking, I don't know, 15 grand on the party because we had a bunch of shit. Like we had a bartender and all kinds of stuff, and it was done right.
Right.
But you know what? Like, dude, that's a rare occasion for us. That's not something we do every fucking weekend or every we do that once a year. It's a big deal for the company. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right, but it also has a business purpose,
I know,
right?
But people see that and they think that's your lifestyle all the time.
Right.
You know, or they, like, for example, they see my cars and they're like, oh, well, you got all these cars. Dude, I've accumulated those cars over over time. I didn't go out and buy them at once. And most of my cars go up in value, not down. You know what I mean?
Right. And a really good point that you've made before is even as much as those cars cost, they still represent a smaller portion of your overall income than somebody who goes and buys a brand new Toyota Corolla or something.
Exactly.
And they can't even afford that.
Right.
You
Exactly.
know? Yeah.
Plus, he's not stupid about the cars that he buys. Like, you rarely lose money on a car.
Right. Exactly. But, like, dude, people assume when they see those cars that you're outspending your income because of how much those cars cost. What they don't realize is that we have 6 other companies that fucking are bringing in, we're going to talk about that too, but, you know, that I've built over the course of almost 20 years now. And they don't understand that. They just, it's like pure nonsense thinking. Like they're just not even comprehending what the fuck is going on. My plan in life has been going step by step by step by step by step over the course of the last 18 years. And the shit that we're talking about today is all shit that I've done over 18 years. Now, have I gotten myself in trouble? Yeah. But that's why I'm talking to you about this.
Right. So, you know, I like to put things in little pithy ways. So the way I would just kind of summarize what you've said so far is don't adjust your tolerance level for wasting money.
Right.
Don't adjust your tolerance level for wasting money. More money does not mean that you can have more waste. So, okay. So there's so many opinions about credit cards. Obviously, credit cards are abused.
Right. That's what I was just talking about a minute ago when I said I've got myself in trouble.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it paid off for me, you know, because I financed our whole business on credit cards. So when 3 or 4 years into our company, dude, I owed almost around 60 grand worth of fucking credit card debt. But that was all shit that I had bought and used for inventory or the company or this and that. And luckily I was in a position where I couldn't pay it off, but I could at least maintain the debt. And then over the course of the next 3 or 4 years, I was able to pay that debt off. But the point of it is that, you know, most people don't use credit cards that way. They use credit cards to go out and fucking buy Louis Vuitton red bottoms for their fucking Instagram account. Right. You know what I'm saying? Or they go out and buy a fucking, a Rolex so they can pretend like they're fucking balling on the internet. And it's like, bro, you don't want to do that because you don't know when or if that money you're going to need that money. So a good way to have credit, I am a huge endorser of having credit. Huge. It's super important. And it's super important to carry a small balance. If you have a $1,000 limit or a $10,000 limit, carry a $200 balance and pay the minimum because that builds your credit. But don't fucking use credit cards to live your life. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Don't go out and fucking finance. Dude, I know a guy who bought a fucking car on a credit card.
I know.
You know what I'm saying?
I've known people who pay tuition with credit
Dude, that's
cards.
what I'm saying.
It's insane.
Right. You're shit.
You're paying the, oh yeah, don't even get me started.
Dude,
but
I know.
It is crazy.
Right.
So
Dude, I know people who fucking took out student loans, spent the student loans on fucking fun shit and life shit, then financed their tuition on credit cards. So they're paying double interest, and the motherfuckers were finance majors.
there's not even a word for how stupid that is.
Dude, but you know what? Nobody in the world really teaches this. It's not a sexy subject because people have a hard time understanding it's not fun to talk about because it really usually involves you having to cut your lifestyle back. And B, the other thing is that the society wants you to do that. Society is designed for you to do that. School wants you to go out and spend as much student loan money as you can, and credit card companies want you to do the fucking same. And dude, and your boss at work probably, and the people around you, they probably want you to do that too. Because you know what? When you're chained up to a fucking debt, guess what you have to do? You have to fucking work. And dude, it's the total opposite mentality of what it should be. What you should be is in an organization that wants you to be free and focused on the job at hand so that you can actually improve and create value. But the problem is that we get so wrapped up in credit debt, student loan debt, and all the shit that society has designed for us to get wrapped into, to get chained to a job, that we never are able to focus on improving ourselves, improving our ability to create value, and improving our personal situation out of our hearts, instead of being forced to. And that's a big deal. That's why most people can never break the hamster wheel mentality.
Right.
You know
That's
what I'm saying?
exactly the image that I was thinking, the hamster wheel.
Right.
Yeah.
And dude, nobody teaches us this shit. Nobody
Right.
teaches us how to fucking manage this shit because, dude, most of the people that would be the guys who were quote unquote teaching this, they don't want you to fucking be out of debt.
Right.
They need you to be in debt. They need you to be chained up.
Absolutely.
Right. And
so,
dude, what I'm talking about here, dude, how good of a job can you do if you go to work every day and you're constantly stressed out about your credit cards being overdue and you're not making enough money at work? Dude, the mentality of most corporations is fucking outdated. Dude, if you're a CEO, you want your people to be financially healthy and you want them to be in a situation where they spend their money wisely because then they could come to work and with a free, open mind to contribute. And that goes for their personal relationships, that goes for their kids, that goes for everything. And that's why as a CEO or a manager, your job shouldn't be just to manage their tasks at work. It should be to be a mentor to their lives. Help them solve these problems. They're having problems with their wife. They're having problems with their girlfriends. Be a person who can offer advice or listen to them or, help them talk them through. It's really about being a good fucking friend.
Right.
You know what I mean? But you can't have employees that are going through all these major life things, and finance is the biggest one. It's the number one thing, and expect them to be these awesome, contributing, creative linchpins of your company. It's just not going to fucking happen. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
That's why, dude, if you're the CEO, if you're a manager, pulling your team aside and talking to them about finance, about how to manage their salary, how to budget, and all that shit is extremely important.
this is kind of an application of another thing you've always talked about, which is the whole concept of being the guy. So in a sales context, you've talked about being a resource for people who your customers. And now here I hear you saying, as a leader, as a CEO, you can't just manage your people when it comes to business. You have to be the guy in their life who can be a resource for a lot of different aspects of their life.
And also think about that. Think about if you took the opportunity to do that with people and spent your time doing that, how healthy of a relationship you would have with your team. Think what it does for culture.
Think about what it does for loyalty.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
And dude,
yeah.
and it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
So much of what we talk about is just the right thing to do. It's fucking. It's really not that hard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
so
if it feels right, if it's the right thing morally,
right.
that's probably what you should do. And it's usually going to be a thing that pays the most too in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, about a year or so ago, I had a great conversation with your business partner, Chris, and he was telling me just certain practical things about how to use credit cards that people don't, always think about. But he said, these are things that it seems like wealthy people have figured out. One is just a little thing he said, and I'd be curious, but he said, use a credit card over a debit card always because, well, for one reason, there's greater security, in terms of fraud and that sort of thing. You'd agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he also...
Well, we're talking about a business context, right?
Well, we're talking both.
Okay,
we're talking both.
In a business context, yes, and I've talked about this before, and I've got a lot of emails on this. We always use a credit card to purchase our inventory because we can earn literally 1.5 to 2 points back, percentage points back in cash, which actually creates a situation where like I said, we pay our whole creative team off of that money that we make off our inventory.
Right.
Okay, it's free money. But let's say you don't have a creative team, and let's say you just have you. All right, would you not like 1 to 2 extra margin points on your fucking product? I mean, dude, it's a huge deal. Over the course of a year, depending on the size of your company, I mean, it could be millions of dollars. It could be fucking $1,000. But dude, what a small business, $1,000 is a huge fucking deal. I've been that size business. I know what $1,000 can do when you don't have it. And so you have to be strategic about how you utilize, your credit cards. And if you're a business owner, you want to encourage people to fucking use their debit cards because there is no fucking fee you have to pay the credit card company out of your merchant account, which takes away those 1 to 2 points.
That's an interesting point
you
to
see what I'm
make
saying?
from a business standpoint.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're at the business and you're running the cash register, it's a good idea to encourage people to use a debit card.
Yeah.
So
well, from a personal standpoint, what Chris was telling me, and it's worked great, and this obviously requires discipline, but what we do in our household is we literally put every household thing on our credit card and we pay it off because what it does is it earns points, earns travel rewards, it earns cash back. And so it works really well for us, but we pay it off.
Dude, that's the discipline.
Yeah.
Right? Like you have to have the discipline to research for the credit cards, what's going to be the most beneficial, because there are credit cards out there that have really good benefits for your particular situation,
right.
Whether you travel a lot, you want cash back. I mean, dude, they're getting pretty good at creating an incentive to use their card, which why they do that, right?
Because they want you to use it.
Yeah, because they get the fee that I just talked
right,
about
right,
at the point of sale. So, like, the thing you have to understand is that, you've got to be willing to do the research. You've got to be disciplined in paying it off, right? And like I said, you always want to carry a small balance on your card. If you have $1,000 card, carry $100 on it. You know what I mean? Because, dude, that's going to build your credit. I'm a big proponent of having multiple credit cards because the amount of credit that you're issued also affects your credit score in a positive way. So there's lots of things that you can do or not do that can hurt or help. We'd actually do a whole episode on credit, but I think that the biggest thing is to fucking A, be disciplined to pay it, and B, be disciplined how you use it, and C, be disciplined to use the right card that's going to affect your life the best way.
Yeah, and I'm probably slow to the party, but I'd like to share a mistake I made, which is I thought I was being really responsible by paying things every month. But what my wife and I were doing wrong was we were actually using too much of our credit limit within the credit card. In other words,
utilization.
Utilization. So a lot of people don't realize that you could be very, very faithful to pay off your credit card every month, but if you're using too much of the credit card, what you want to do is you want to call them and you want to ask them to increase the limit,
right?
Because then your credit score goes up,
right?
Or it stabilizes, right. I should say. And we had to learn that lesson. So.
Yeah, that's not that hard of a lesson though, really.
No, it isn't. But I mean,
a hard lesson is like getting $100,000 in credit card debt and trying to figure out how the fuck you're paid off when you make 40.
No, I agree. Yeah. But it's still. I mean, if you're conscientious, when you get some email saying, here you're doing your best to pay off all your debts and do that,
I think
and you get this email that says your credit score went down, you're like, what?
A big mistake people make too, and it's worth talking about real quick, is that they want to get out of debt so bad they pay their cards off and then they close their cards.
Oh, yeah.
And that'll kill your fucking credit score.
Yeah. No, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. So I mean, just in general, credit card.
Dude,
how would you?
take a weekend and study up on credit.
Yeah.
It'll help.
MyFICO.com.
Is that the one you like?
Best source ever. I
Okay.
spent a year fucking learning about credit when I lived in Florida.
Yeah.
Well, and Credit Karma does it. Credit.
Yeah, but
Karma.
MyFICO's got the message boards and
There's
moderate-
tons of
They do
free,
it all.
It's awesome.
There's tons of free
Yeah, there's
research
just
out
do
there.
some research. But bottom line for me is that credit cards are like alcohol. I mean, most of the time you should be responsible. Every now and then you can have a little fun, but if you're irresponsible consistently,
Right, it's gonna fuck you up.
Yes,
Yeah.
And I actually have a way of blending those two, having fun and being responsible. I only take a vacation now when I can pay for it 90% with credit card rewards.
That's what we do.
So
Agreed.
if you really want to be responsible, drink a whole lot and use all your credit cards
Boom.
because those things happen to go together.
Yeah, exactly. So I know you wanted to talk about credit. We've already done that in terms of, or we specifically talked about credit cards, but I don't know if you wanted to talk about credit in general or leave that.
No, I think we could do a whole podcast on that. Actually, I think I've got a couple friends who actually do credit repair for a living. That'd be kind of a cool podcast to do. I think.
Yeah. Whatever you don't do, credit consolidation, because those are generally scams, right? Because that just kills your credit. Or debt consolidation. Excuse me, debt consolidation. Doesn't that usually?
It's just it's a hack. It's not a real solution.
Yeah, exactly. So let me read. I was jotting down your points here. So number one, hold yourself to Number one, hold yourself to a budget even if you have millions. Number two, have a budget category for your impulsive purchases. Number three, don't adjust your tolerance level for wasting money. Number four, care about credit. Use credit cards strategically. Okay, what else?
I think you've got to know your financial priorities. A lot, like we talked about a minute ago about impulsive spending, a lot of people don't understand that, like they don't even know when they're spending aimless, stupid shit, right? They get paid, they get some money in their account, and they're like, "Oh, woo, I'm rich," and they go out and they spend $100 on fucking fishing equipment because they decide they're going to get into fishing. But they're really not getting into fishing. They fucking saw a post on Instagram that was like, "Oh yeah, fishing's cool," and it's some pointless bullshit that you're never going to follow through on that you spend money on. And a lot of people do this. I fucking do this, but I also count it as my impulsive shit, right?
Right.
Like, we tell ourselves all kinds of things that we're going to do or that we're going to get into. This is especially true with hobbies. A lot of people do this with supplements. They go out and they buy $300 or $400 worth of supplements or vitamins and they're like, "Oh, I'm going to do it." And then they never do it, and you have to catch yourself. You have to catch yourself when you're feeling that way. Like, dude, is this pointless or is this something I'm really going to do? And you have to be able to ask yourself at the point of sale when that happens. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. What about priorities? You were mentioning priorities in terms of financial priorities, what you wanted to do, retirement, that sort of thing. What about priorities? I mean, obviously wealthy people get hit up a lot for money, for charity.
Right.
What about, how does knowing your priorities help you deal with those conversations?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
That's a big deal, dude, because especially because I know we do have a lot of listeners that make a lot of money, and you guys all will know exactly what I'm talking about here. But dude, when you start making money and people know you make money, you're going to get hit up by fucking everybody you know and their fucking brothers and sisters to donate to their GoFundMe, their charity, their this, their that. And they're going to use guilt to try to make you feel like you are obligated to give. Okay. And, getting your priorities, especially charitable priorities, identified and known is important. I used to be really scared to let people know where I gave money to. But what I learned is that, because I thought people would be like, "Oh, you're bragging about how you give money." Well, when you make a lot of fucking money and everybody knows it, you almost have to do that, because if you don't do that, people assume that you fucking don't give any money to anybody, and then they judge you for that. So it's better just to let people know, I found, where you donate to and make it known and let that be the way it is. So dude, I give to my high school. Chris and I both do. We were very fortunate to be able to attend an amazing high school who was very, very big part of where we are today. A lot of our friends we do business with went to that school. A lot of the teachers are still mentors to us and friends of ours now. And we feel like that we need to give back because it's our obligation to help those kids, just like there was people, because they're not publicly funded. It's a private school.
Right.
So there was men who gave to our school when we were there that allowed us to have those opportunities, and we feel obligated to give those back. And dude, we give a lot of money to them. It's 7 figures, not fucking a little bit of money. You know what I mean? And so when people come up and they say, hey, you know, you need to donate to this or that. Now, if it's a special situation, you know, obviously there's always exceptions. You know what I mean? But generally I just say, hey, look, man, you know, we have our charity budget, and it's all, you know, it's all allocated for this year. We give to this organization. This is where we always give. You know, this just isn't for us. And you know what? People do get upset with you, but there's really nothing you can do to stop
Yeah.
that.
I mean, just because you have money doesn't
Right.
obligate
you can't help
you to
fucking
give
everybody.
Yeah.
Like that's something that people don't understand. Is like, dude, I'll post pictures of like, because like, you know, we're big into bulldogs, so I'll post pictures or share posts of bulldogs that need help, and they might need $1,000 or something, you know, because they're rescue bulldogs. And I have people comment, why don't you just give them $1,000? Well, dude, I can't give $1,000 to every fucking bulldog needs help. I mean, dude, this is like something we can all contribute to, and people just don't understand. And I don't really give a fuck they understand or not, but I'm just saying, like, when you have a lot of money, be prepared for that. Like, people just aren't going to fucking get it. And the first couple of times they say shit to you, you are going to feel guilty. You're going to feel bad.
And you feel guilty because you're a decent person. I mean, that's what I would tell people. And I always used to say when I was a pastor to people, I say, listen, every need you're presented is not a cause you have to commit to.
Right.
I mean, there's just a lot of need in the world.
Right.
And you just
and
have
you know
to
what?
decide
and there's
what
nothing
you
wrong
care
with
about.
sharing those needs.
Right.
And not being the guy that fucking gives all the money to it.
Yeah.
You could still share it and make it known and be aware of it and not be the one who's writing the check.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's just, but I mean, if you're the guy who never writes the check and you're making a lot of money, I don't know. I feel like you have an obligation to give back somewhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Good
That's
thoughts.
my personal opinion.
Good thoughts.
But, and a lot of people don't, man. You know, there's a lot of wealthy people that don't. And I would say to you guys, if you're one of those people that says, oh, well, fuck, nobody fucking helped me when I'm coming up. No, there's a lot of motherfuckers that helped you. You're just not taking accurate fucking inventory of who they were. Mm-hmm. Nobody got here.
100%.
Nobody got here alone. There was a teacher, there was a mentor, there was somebody somewhere, somehow that allowed you, and you may not have ever even met them, that allowed you the opportunity to succeed. That's the beautiful part of living in this country, is that there's a lot of selfless people that create opportunities that you'll never know who the fuck they were, and it creates an obligation for you to give back. And a lot of people ignore that obligation. They don't give back whenever they, you know, and I would say the majority of people who have a lot of money give a lot of money, but there is people that don't. And I would say to those people, dude, karma's a fucking bitch, man. And if you don't do some kind of good with what you've been fortunate enough to have or blessed with, or however you want to say it, don't be surprised if it goes away.
Right. Well, you were earlier talking about the two extreme groups with regard to money. I feel like the two extreme groups are the people who think that rugged individualism, like American rugged individualism, means that you didn't get help for anything. You literally did everything by yourself.
That's such a bullshit thing.
It is.
Like,
the opposite extreme, of course, is that
equally as bullshit.
Equally, yeah.
Right. It's like what Obama said to everybody. Like, you didn't build that.
Right.
Motherfucker, I built this.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I'd be very ignorant to say that I built it alone.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, like, you have to understand that anybody that's successful out there, the guy at the head of the table who's making all the money, he definitely didn't do that by himself. There's just no fucking way to do it. But at the same time, that's probably the guy that did all the shit when nobody was around, came up with the ideas, laid the framework, created the opportunity, and became a good enough manager of people to create the situation that it was able to fucking accelerate greatly. But, you know, to sit there and say, oh, nobody fucking did anything for me, I did this all on my own. Dude, you're so full of shit, you don't even fucking recognize it.
Right.
Your ego needs to get checked.
Of course, we're going to have asterisk holes who listen to early episodes saying, hey, Andy, I thought you defended Obama when he said that.
Well, I do kind of, because Obama, I think people took
He
it out
said
of
it really wrong.
I think people took it out of context.
Yeah.
I think he's saying what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He's saying, like, hey, you didn't build that alone. That would have been a much better way to say it.
Right.
Because that's accurate.
Right.
But saying you didn't fucking build that
is absolutely wrong.
To somebody like me who's put fucking 16 hours a day in for 20 fucking years is insulting. And anybody who's at the head of a fucking table who has built something like that is going to be upset about hearing that. They just
Absolutely.
are.
Absolutely.
You just could have said it better. I also think most of the people that would be upset with that, if you were to say, you didn't build that alone, you had amazing people that helped you along the way, you had these people create opportunities for you, they would agree with that too. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But to say it like so polarizing, it's just fucking stupid.
Absolutely. So we're obviously talking about priorities, financial priorities, which has to do with kind of long term. One of the things that I know you've talked about is the importance over time of cultivating multiple revenue streams.
Right, exactly. You know, I think, like I mentioned, people don't understand we have multiple companies, right? They think all they think is First Form. That's all they see. They don't understand that we've taken the cash that we've been able to accumulate and created multiple income streams across the board. And we're continuing to create multiple ones. I mean, we have 2 or 3 companies in the works right now that haven't even been talked about ever before. But the thing is that people get in a hurry to do that, right? They start making a little bit of money, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, I'm going to be a fucking real estate guru now. Or I'm going to be this kind of guy now. Now I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And they get what I call the Midas touch disease. They think that because they were able to do something a little bit in one area, that everything they touch is going to work equally as well. Instead of taking their time and saying, hey, this might be a good opportunity. Let me learn this from the beginning as a beginner, because something that successful entrepreneurs generally have a hard time doing is remembering that they're only proven in one area, right? Like, you're proven in this one area, and very few entrepreneurs are able to take their skills from this one area and put it in this other area and make it work just as well. Those are true entrepreneurs. There's very few people that can do that. I can fucking do that, and I have done that. I've proven myself to do that. But very few people, I would say, are able to do that. Most people need to stick inside their realm, and they need to focus on that realm and accelerate on that realm as far as they can fucking go. Now, let's say you do want to, let's say, okay, like I've got a couple guys here in the office that do real estate on the side. They buy homes, rehab homes, they buy multifamily units. They're taking the money they earn here and they're turning it into a fucking business, which will probably ultimately become their main business. All right. And they'll probably become multimillionaires from that business. But they're not going out and trying to fucking, leverage every ounce of credit they have to buy 10 houses. They're buying one fucking house. They're learning how to rehab that one house. They're buying one unit. They're learning how to manage that one unit. They're taking their money. They're going to real estate seminars. They're learning from people who have proven to do it. And you know what? That's how you do shit. You take your time. And so if you're a successful guy and you've got some money coming in, be humble enough to know that you're a beginner over here at whatever other business you're trying to start up, and that you're going to have to go back to square one and learn from the beginning and take your time. Open one new fucking store or one new business, one new website, not 20, not 10, just because you had the money. Because that's how you're going to fucking get ruined. Dude, I've seen people who I know that made lots of money, dude. I saw somebody who was making $100 million a year of their core business and go out and start a real estate company and buy up all this fucking real estate. The market crashed. They went fucking broke. They lost both businesses. Now they're broke. I mean broke. Mm-hmm. Not kind of broke. I mean broke. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I've seen that. And, so rushing into, multiple streams of income just because you see a bunch of memes on the internet. The average millionaire has 7 fucking streams of income. Okay. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So let me go out and create 7 things today. Like, that's what people think, right? Like, no, dude.
That's what they want them to think so that they buy their course.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
So, take your time, find the right projects, find the right investments, educate yourself on those areas before you go jumping into them. And normally I say go all in, but this is a case where I say take your fucking time, because you went all in on your area number 1 to get that point where it's cash flowing to the point where you're even looking at something else. You know what I mean? And dude, the thing is that people tend to jump from their main gig too quickly, right? Like they let's say they own a business and they're making $200,000 a year or $300,000 a year, and they're like, fuck, I could take this and I could buy these multifamilies and do this, and this. But what they're neglecting to see is how far wide their current business that they're already clearly somewhat of an expert in could be. they could take that business in 5 or 6, 7 more years, and that 200,000 could be fucking 15 million. But instead, they take that 200 grand and they go start doing these other things, and they lose focus on their main thing. And that, you know, if you talk about what that, they look at it like, oh, I'm making all this extra money over here. But no, really, you're fucking losing a lot of money because you're leaving so much on the table.
You're diluting your effort.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's something you need to be aware of. You know, I'm a big proponent of exhausting your current business to the point where you can't make any more money, or it's operating at an 80% autonomy where you're only running 10% or putting 10% of your time into it, to where you go to something else, you know. And that's where people fuck up, man. It's the Midas touch thing. They think they can do everything, and they want to do everything because they want to walk into a meeting and they want to say, oh yeah, I'm the fucking CEO of ABC Heating and Cooling, but yeah, I own ABC Asphalt and ABC fucking Holdings and ABC this, and you know, and they want to talk about themselves.
Yeah.
It's an ego thing. It's not a money thing.
Right.
And like, dude, I don't know about you, but I'd rather have the fucking money. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So
I want you to wrap up with your whatever final point that you're going to make in just a second. But can I do two things real quick? Number one, guys, you know that in 160 episodes we hardly ever push anything in terms of product, and you also know that the MFCEO Project is not just a podcast, it's a movement. One of the ways that you expand a movement and make it really powerful is you capture the hearts of the youth. And Andy has written a book, Otis and Charlie. He's actually creating a series of books for kids, Otis and Charlie's Hardworking Tales. The first book, Charlie the Bulldog's Fantastic Fruit Stand, has been super popular. I just want to throw that out there, you guys. One way to really support the podcast is to buy The Kid in Your Life, that book. And we've got the second book coming out real soon, which we're not going to tell you about, but the theme is awesome. So all you need to do is go to Amazon.com, Google Andy Frisella. You'll find the book, but that would be a great way for you to support the podcast. Secondly, on the subject of books, people are constantly asking you what your favorite books are. We do have a PDF you can download of Andy's favorite books. It's themfceo.com/badass books. And if you want to see a list of his book favorite books, you can get that. Well, while we're at it, before you go back, why don't you just throw out a couple books you've read lately, or ones that sort of classic for you that you recommend, because people are literally always asking you that.
The books, if you've been listening to the podcast, that I always go to for people who are not really into reading, which, by the way, if you're not into reading, you're costing yourself tons of opportunity. But The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz is probably my all-time favorite book. I think it's super important for anybody to read that's goal-oriented. I like Relentless by Tim Grover. I think that's probably my top 3 favorites. Anything by Seth Godin is relevant. It really teaches you how to think differently. I can't really name one book. The Purple Cow was the first book I read by him, and that's what got me hooked on all of his stuff. The guy's a fucking genius. Sometimes he can be hard to read because the guy's so smart.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's going to be smarter than you if you're listening to this, and just is. Wooden on Leadership is an amazing book.
Lombardi Rules.
That's a quick, easy read.
Yep.
10X.
Yeah, 10X by Grant Cardone is a fucking amazing book. You know, anything by Tony Robbins is a great read. Again, he can be hard to read. Sometimes he's easier to listen to. You know, I mean, The Third Circle Theory.
Mm-hmm. PJ.
Yeah. That's a great book. I mean, those are all books that I would recommend to anybody to read. I mean, I have hundreds of books that I've read, but those books stand above everybody else's content, I think. But back to the summary of the podcast, I think really the problem here, guys, is it's the same problem why people can't be successful, is that it's instant gratification, right? And instant gratification really fucks things up. It fucks up your relationships. It fucks up your business. It fucks up your finances and your ability to plan for the future. And I think the biggest thing that you need to take away from this podcast is this. You need to always be thinking long-term. And people, you know, they have this fucking stupid sayings like YOLO and this and that, like whenever they think about spending money and all this shit. But the problem is that by letting the short-term things getting the short-term purchases, the short-term impulsive buys, the short-term lack of planning that you do when it comes to your finances, that means you're always going to be a slave to the system, okay? You're always going to be the guy who has to have this job that you fucking hate in order to survive. So you've got to, when you're young and you're under 30 or even under 40, it's a good idea to live below your means. It's a good idea to do your homework. It's a good idea to read up on investments and take the money you do have, the little money you've been able to save, and pursue those investments on the side. It's a good idea to not try to become get rich quick overnight, okay? That shit doesn't exist. It is the ultimate bait and hook of people who want to take your money out of your pocket and put it in their fucking pocket. You need to look, like a big thing now is like day trading and fucking trading stocks and shit or currencies and Bitcoin and this and that. And everybody they're hearing the glory stories. I made fucking 70 grand in 6 months and this and that. Dude, you need to look for the businesses that are going to be here when you're fucking, if you're 20, when you're 40, look at the companies that you think are going to be here and invest in those companies. You know what I mean? Warren Buffett doesn't go for get rich quick. He took his time. He did his homework. He understood that, industries are going to change, and the ones that are going to make you the money are the companies that are going to withstand that change. Don't be investing in the fucking sexy overnight fly-by-night businesses. You need to think really hard about not just how you're making your money, which is normally what we focus on here, but how you're investing your money and how you're spending your money. A big part of becoming wealthy long-term is not what you bring in, it's how much you let go out. And a lot of people forget that. They see all these people, and dude, you know what? If you follow me, I'm probably guilty of it too. You see me post in my cars, or you post when I fly in a jet, when you post this and that. You need to keep in mind that that's a very small percentage of my income, and those things are planned for and budgeted for. It's not me doing this, like these motherfuckers that post stacks of money on the internet, or like they throw fucking they're at the club and they throw $1,000 or $10,000 in the fucking air and let it go to, dude, that's not real life. That's not how wealthy people operate. That's not what they do. They make smart decisions, they plan their decisions, and they budget those decisions over the long haul. They don't just go fucking crazy. And dude, so many of you young guys are trying to live that baller lifestyle, trying to fucking keep up with somebody who isn't going to fucking matter to you in 5 years or even a year. You're watching these motherfuckers on the internet or these people on TV, and you're making decisions about your future, the next 10 years, who you're going to be 10 years from now or 15 years from now, based on what some dumb fuck celebrity is doing or what car he's driving or what fucking, this or that he's doing. And guys, you got to be smarter than that. Quit buying into the fucking bait. And start thinking about what realistically it's going to take for you to get where you want to go. And I think, so to sum it up, quit thinking about today or tomorrow or next month and start thinking about where you're going to be in 10 fucking years. And usually we talk offense. Usually we talk make a lot of money. Usually we talk how much money you're going to make. In this case, let's talk about how much money you're going to fucking keep, because that is what's going to ultimately determine your lifestyle for the rest of your life. Because once you get to a critical mass where you have a lot of assets and they're bringing you money and they're bringing you income, you're going to get to a situation where A, you're comfortable where you are, and B, you're making a lot more money than what's creating the comfort in your life. And dude, when you can get to that situation, that's a good situation to be in. So I would say, guys, take your time, do your homework, think long-term, don't buy into the fucking hype. All right? You got plenty of time. You can do a lot of good shit right now. Be fucking smart about it.